Right before our wedding, my future sister-in-law tried to make me the villain and the family bought it. This is a long story. I'll try to keep it as short as possible. When my husband and I were planning our wedding, everything seemed to fall in place so effortlessly. I can't remember one hiccup when it came to picking outfits, cake, venue, payments, or literally anything. It was all perfect. Before I go too far, I should mention that my husband has quite a few siblings. For this story, there are two sisters that are relevant. The good one and the bad one. So, with everything going perfect, 2 weeks before the wedding, the good sister tells me and my husband that she needs to talk to us. We of course agree. There she cautiously tells us that the bad sister was telling everyone in the family, individually might I add, that I am manipulative, controlling, and abusive to my husband. She said that she saw it firsthand and my husband told her that I was too. Crazy because my husband got just as mad as I did and he effortlessly showed me his phone to show that he hasn't talked to the bad sister in over a year or two. And even the messages from a year or so ago were things like happy birthday then months later Merry Christmas, which only showed how close they were. So, this is where we find out that she had told everyone that not only has she seen my apparently abusive and controlling behaviors but my husband told her that I am. I'd like to also add that even though my husband and I were about to get married, I had only met this bad sister twice. Another detail I'd like to throw in there is this family was insanely controlling and manipulative. I'll just give 1 or 2 examples just to prove my credibility. The parents convinced him to give them his car instead of selling it. We were moving and needed to save the money. So, they told him to give it to them and they'd figure out all the details for him, but if he wants to use the car, he'd need to ask them. We found out that they did not do a thing for that car. It stayed in his name and they did not pay for it and it tanked his credit. They blamed him for giving it to them and not realizing that they were lying. Another quick example, they called his boss saying he needed to take the week off. I don't know what excuse they told him, but they did it so my husband would spend time with them while they were in town on vacation. They then did not call or message him about going anywhere or meeting up for vacation even after he would ask them for plan info. Needless to say, I'm not the toxic one. Okay, back to the story. So, after she had individually told everyone in the family I'm manipulative and controlling 2 weeks before the wedding, we obviously need to address it. My husband gave her a call to tell her that he knows what she has been doing. She of course tried to figure out who told and he would not tell her. She then proceeded to try and tell him how controlling and manipulative I am. I was silently screaming and punching pillows next to him. He told her over and over how I am not what she is saying I am. She kept saying that he's so manipulated by me that he doesn't even know the real me. Let me remind everyone that I met that sister twice. Max an hour at a time. I was living with my husband but apparently she knew me better than he did. After a back and forth on the phone that seemed to last forever, he finally said, I'm not arguing anymore. I know the truth and you're wrong. We talked about it and decided that we can all let this go if you apologize to my future wife. She tried the okay, well tell her I said sorry. He said, no, you need to apologize to her. Not even 30 minutes after getting off the phone with her, he was bombarded by calls and texts from the rest of the family about how she was just worried about him and he is overreacting. Note, he didn't tell anyone about any of this. After that, it was tense but fairly silent for the week. That's when he decided to message the bad sister and ask why she hadn't apologized. She basically tried to say she was just so busy. We all know she was hoping it would get ignored. So he told her that she needs to apologize to me the next day because he won't tolerate this behavior towards me. He even gave her a time frame. Nothing. So he messaged her at the end of the next day to tell her she was uninvited to the wedding. She of course panicked, realizing that she wasn't as important as she thought. She started saying she'd apologize RN. He stood his ground and reminded her she had a week to apologize and he even told her a time frame the day before. She started saying that she thought I'd call her. We all thought that was the dumbest thing. Hello, I'm calling you so you can apologize to me. Come on. She then got very respectful saying she understands how she shouldn't have said the things she said especially 2 weeks before the wedding. It was surprising. She was polite and understanding. But then the calls and texts started flooding in. She told everyone in the family. His mom yelling at him on the phone while texts from his dad and other siblings were firing away. The funniest to me was a sibling saying, who the fuck are you to uninvite your sister to the wedding? I remember me and him looking at each other and laughing while saying, the groom? His mom on the phone with him screaming at the top of her lungs about how he is overreacting and how it wasn't the bad sister's fault, it was actually the good sister's fault because if she didn't tell us what the bad sister said then we wouldn't know. So we should be mad at the good sister instead. At one point, the good sister, the mom, and my husband were on a conference call together where the good sister said, Mom, he is just defending his future wife and she responded, yeah and I'm begging him not to. That's when he said, wow Mom, so you want me to choose my sister over my wife, to which she hung up on him mid-sentence. This whole thing turned into another sibling we also didn't like, uninviting herself, and then the parents trying to guilt trip my husband by saying, well, we all were renting an Airbnb together, so if they can't go, we won't be able to afford it and we might not be able to go. That lie dissolved real quick when he responded, okay. Just let me know if you can't make it. Personally, I didn't want his parents there either, but they did give a half-assed apology and I didn't want to force him to do anything he didn't want to do. Plus, I kind of knew that relationship wouldn't last long anyway. For the parents, they also threw a fit that we weren't doing dinner on the wedding day. You know how everyone always says to take a few minutes with your person on your wedding day to really live in the moment because it moves so fast? We decided that the dinner would be that time for us. Just me and him having dinner together. We decided on a restaurant that we had our first date at. We told everyone they can show up there too, but we won't have a giant table together. Then after dinner we will meet back for reception. His parents threw such a fit about not having dinner at the same table that they called the restaurant behind our backs to try and make a reservation. We picked our battles and we said fine and made the reservation. We stood our ground on our decisions everywhere else, this isn't that bad. So we did. Only to show up, and since we had a bunch of people, they split our tables up and his family picked a table away from us. Oh, I forgot to add that his mom took the self-uninvited sibling's son to the wedding without telling us. She let him wear a t-shirt and basketball shorts and kept trying to push him in the front of all pictures. We already warned the photographer and she pushed him to the back and we deleted all pics of his family anyway other than good sister and her family. So, last part. His family not only threw a fit about being at the same table for dinner then sat away from us, but they also didn't come to the reception afterwards. My mom made gift bags for everyone, including a tree bar candle holder that each one comes from the same tree since we're all a part of the same family tree now. They never got them because they didn't come. We had an entire day of activities planned for the next day. Fun things that any age would enjoy. They told us at dinner that they wouldn't be coming because they felt bad that the uninvited ones wouldn't feel special. His dad's words were, well, I don't want to step on anyone's toes. So, they didn't come the next day either. My husband begged another sibling to go and they promised they would. Of course, I wouldn't miss it for the world. They didn't show either. Our ceremony was 2 hours long. So over the course of a week, we saw them for a little over 2 hours. But 2 hours of that was us getting married, so what? We saw them for maybe an hour. But they were at another table. So were they even there really? We're coming up on our year anniversary and he has barely talked to everyone in his family other than the good sister. I've thrown her kids over the top birthdays and me and her are so close now. There has been little dramas here and there with the siblings and parents that I'd love to include as well as other wedding drama details, but this post is already hella long. So yeah. I just needed to get that off my chest.
Relevant comments. Neon fade. Family drama is like a soap opera, but without the commercial breaks. You deserve better for your anniversary. Salisbury Grove. Yikes. The family hijacking the private dinner was a great way for OP and husband to put them on an information diet. Nobody needed to know where they had their reservation.
OP. That's kinda why we said fuck it to getting a reservation. We kept all details from then until last minutes. They already talked about getting to the venue early, which we'd be fined for, and talked about staying with us at our Airbnb. So we didn't tell them either of those addresses. They got the venue address the day of. So that's another reason why we said fuck it to the dinner thing. They were already pissy about the rest that we weren't budging on. Pickin' battles. Woman shrugging light skin tone, they're insane anyway, so if it mattered if we gave them everything they wanted. They'd find something to be pissed about.